Instead of drilling for oil, how about growing it right here in the United States? Joining the company is Riggs Eckelberry. He is the president and CEO of OriginOil. So welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning, Stuart.
Now, you're on because President Obama was talking about algae last week, made a big pitch. Now, I've got a basic question for you. How long before algae supplies me with 1 gallon of gas that I can drive my car with? How far away, in terms of years, how far away are we?
We are there technology-wise right now. On Friday, right after the president's speech, we released a study that showed that algae-blended fuel could be made for as little as $2.28 a gallon, and that's without subsidies, without a premium for being green. At this point, what we need is scale. We need to start building these plantations because that study assumed a roughly 130-acre footprint to get that kind of productivity.
Okay, so if you've got a 130-acre footprint, that's like the farm, I guess, the algae farm. Is that correct? Would that be the right way of putting it? You take 130 acres, and out of that 130 acres, how many gallons of gas can you make?
Well, it's roughly 300 barrels of gasoline and diesel that you could directly use in a car that would drive up to that farm.
Per day?
Literally.
Per day?
Per day. Per day.
So it takes 130 acres of an algae farm to produce 300 barrels of gas a day, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, that's not a great deal of gas coming from a very large area. You would require whole square miles of plant, would you not, to really supply significant volume of gas?
Stuart, I think this is appropriate to the large desert areas, to places that are less populated. Algae is great because it doesn't need farmland, it doesn't need fresh water, it loves wastewater. So yes, the productivity is vastly greater than things like corn and so forth. You still need some surface area, absolutely.
Now, the president says that there will come a day when we could get rid of 17% of our imported oil. That would be roughly 1 million barrels a day. Given an enormous amount of money flowing into companies like yours, how many years away, we have to talk honestly here, how many decades are we away from the point where algae gives us 1 million barrels of oil equivalent per day? How long?
Well, Stuart, Tracy was talking yesterday about the whole idea of energy security, and the military is the tangible part of all this. They have committed to a very large investment. For example, the U.S. Navy will need 8 million barrels a year by 2020 of fuel like ours. And so, that's going to be the timeline. So we're going to be in the millions of barrels a year by the end of the decade. I think we'll just have to keep going from there. We're going to have to keep growing it. And here's the great news. It's U.S. jobs. It's petroleum being made in your neighborhood, in places like New Jersey and the Carolinas and all kinds of places that don't rely on having fossil fuels underneath them.
I'm not trying to throw cold water on this. Believe me, I'm not, because obviously this is a fine idea. My problem would be, how do you get these plants, these algae farms, built? The environmentalists have put up all kinds of obstacles to solar farms and wind farms, which are also ultra-clean forms of energy. The environmentalists they won't let you build this stuff. You think you could get an algae farm built in my backyard very easily, sir?
Well, actually, algae is very good for the environment. It absorbs toxins, like the drugs that are in the sewage and so forth. It takes up CO2 and returns oxygen, so it's highly beneficial. Now, your point is well made. There's going to be all kinds of permitting issues, but it's a benign thing. An algae spill is just a bunch of green water. But there's a good reason why, there's American companies that are growing algae in the Great Sandy Desert in Australia, because it's just not as much of a problem, and that makes a lot of sense.
Well, look, it's a very interesting subject, Riggs, and we do appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and we'll follow it. OriginOil, you are algae man on this program, and we appreciate you being with us. Riggs Eckelberry.
Thank you,
sir. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.